Hello students. So now we start with the next kingdom, that is kingdom Protista. Now in this kingdom unicellular eukaryotic organisms are placed. So unicellular eukaryote, they have a eukaryote structure similar to the eukaryote like organism and they are single celled organism. So if we talk about, they have a single celled eukaryotes. Now protistans have well defined nucleus. They have a nucleus well defined like the eukaryotes because they are eukaryotic organism, and other membranous organelles also they have. Means they have a double envelope system. What they have? Double envelope system. But they form a link. They exist like a link between kingdom Monera and the other three kingdom on the other side, that is Plantae, fungi and Animalia on the other hand. So means the boundaries of this kingdom are not well defined. Okay, and members of Protista are primarily aquatic and they form a link with the other dealing with the plants, fungi and animals. So if we talk about some of the general characteristic of Protista, you can see first that they are unicellular eukaryotic organism. You can find some of the colonial but without much cellular differentiation, means tissue level system of organization is absent. They have a cellular organization. Mostly they are aquatic. When we see their cell structure, which is of a eukaryotic type, they have all kinds of membrane bound organelle. They have all kinds of membrane bound organelle, like they have a ATS cytoplasmic ribosome. Cells may possess a cellulosic cell wall. They have a cellulosic cell wall like plants. When we see the flagella and cilia, they have also 9+2 arrangement of microtubule. And if this is the thing, this is the obviously a characteristic of eukaryote. And these are consist of tubulin proteins. Now movement occur by pseudopodia. So in Protista we will study that amoeba is belongs. So pseudopodia is used for movement. There are some flagella and ciliate structures. But in this, ciliary mode is fastest. Ciliary mode is fastest. That you should remember. Now, mode of nutrition may be photosynthetic, and the another term for photosynthetic used, that is holophytic. So we remember holophytic means photosynthetic, they synthesize the food. Another term, another is a ingestive type or holozoic type. They can be saprobic or parasitic. Some have mixotropic nutrition as well. This is an important question. They have photosynthetic as well as saprophytic in Euglena. When light availability is there, it perform photosynthesis, but when light is not available, they perform a heterotropic mode of nutrition, and in this perform saprophytism. When we talk about reproduction, it is of asexual and sexual means. Life cycle are of two type, that is zygotic meiosis and gametic meiosis, and they are decomposer, photosynthetic or parasite, and this parasitic process may cause some of the disorders. So now when we see these of the characteristics, all characteristics simply clarifies that these are the eukaryotic characteristics. But when we see the life cycle, you can see here two terms, that is a gametic meiosis and zygotic meiosis. So we then should understand what do you mean by gametic meiosis and zygotic meiosis. When we talk about a life cycle, and in this we talk about a zygotic meiosis, this means zygote is not undergoing mitosis, it is undergoing a meiosis and forming a spores. Okay, why? Because spores are formed by the fusion of gametes. Zygote is formed by the fusion of gametes, and then this zygote, usually in higher organism, it undergo a mitosis and form a zygote. But when we talk about some of the lower organism, in this it was found that it undergo meiosis. So this organism which perform zygotic meiosis, they have a haplontic life cycle. But when we see about gametic meiosis, in these meiosis occur for the gamete formation. gamete formation, meiosis will occur. And this meiosis for gamete formation will occur, so that is known as gametic meiosis. And for gamete formation, you will see that occur in case of a diplontic organism. So diplontic life cycle represent a gametic meiosis. So these are also some of the characteristic of protist. But our primarily focus should be on classification, because we are talking about a chapter that is dealing with the classification, and you will find a majorly question with this. Now in this kingdom, protista is divided into three groups, that is a photosynthetic protist, consumer decomposer protist, and protozoans. In photosynthetic protist means they are holophytic nutrition, they synthesize their own food, and they are diatoms, dinoflagellates, and nucleonoids. We will deal with this in detail one by one. In consumer decomposer protists, we will talk about a slime mold, which are a phagotropic nutrition they have, and in protozoans, we will talk about amoeboid protozoans, which amoeba belongs to this. Then we will talk about flagellate, ciliate, we will talk about paramecium, and sporozoan, that is a plasmodium. So we will discuss with all of this one by one. Now first we start with the chrysophyte. Okay. Now this chrysophytes consist of diatom and desmids. Now this diatom and desmids are considered, chrysophytes are considered as a golden brown photosynthetic protist. This is due to their coloration, but they are photosynthetic protist. Now when we talk about chrysophytes, diatoms or desmids, they are both aquatic and terrestrial, but some are marine. Some marine forms you will find. So these are a microscopic organism which possesses various colors. They are made of various colors. One of the important statement that they lack flagella except in reproductive stage. So one of the important statement, and it is a star mark statement, as it's what asked earlier in NEET, that diatoms or desmids or chrysophytes lack flagella except in reproductive stage, means in reproductive stage they develop a flagella. Similar type of statement we have discussed in blue-green algae or cyanobacteria as well as. In cyanobacteria or blue-green algae, in Monera we have studied that there is no flagella throughout the lifespan. But in comparison to that, in chrysophytes, flagella is present, but in reproductive stage, usually it is absent. Now the cell wall characteristic made up of two halves, one half covering the other, that is epitheca and hypotheca, which form a soap box arrangement. They have a soap box arrangement, and in this soap box arrangement, you will find one upper covering and one lower covering. This upper covering is known as epitheca, and this lower one is known as hypotheca. So this gives a soap box arrangement to the diatoms. Now they may be free floating, like phytoplankton. Diatom can be considered the phytoplankton group due to the presence of their lightweight lipids. The cellulosic cell wall impregnates with silica to form a transparent siliceous cell wall. Be remember this important statement: transparent and siliceous cell, which is known as frustule. Now depending upon the symmetry also, diatoms are maybe of two types, that is having a bilateral symmetry and the radial symmetry. In bilateral symmetry, the example is Navicula, and this bilateral symmetry is known as pennate type. And in bilateral symmetry, you know that when organism is cleaved from one direction only, passing through the center, and it cut into the two equal halves. Only through one plane it can divide into two equal halves. But when we talk about centric type or radial symmetry, in this, if we cut from any side, any plane, it can be divided into two equal halves. So now this photosynthetic protists have a radial biradial, though both symmetry. Now they are photosynthetic, so they have some pigments as well as, and here you can see a chlorophyll A, chlorophyll C, B is absent. They have alpha carotene. They have which? Alpha carotene, special carotenoid containing fucoxanthin is there, xanthophylls are there, like dianoxanthin and didienoxanthin. Okay, so this all things are found in case of photosynthetic pigment. Okay, so due to this they can perform photosynthesis. Now when photosynthesis occur, after photosynthesis what will happen? Some of the food is utilized for body and some get stored. So the reserve food is oil and polysaccharide. What is reserve food? Oil and polysaccharide, and which is known as leucosin or chrysolaminarine. And this is the responsible for almost 50% of the total organic matter synthesized by biosphere. And due to this region, these are known as chief producer of ocean. And this was the question which was asked earlier in NEET. So we remember that they are the chief producer of ocean. Now, next what happens? Movement occur by a mucilage propulsion. In mucilage propulsion, what happens? Suppose this is a diatom. Diatom by force release a mucilage on the back side. At that time, this diatom will be pushed forward due to the, you know, that Newton's third law of motion, that every action is opposite reaction. So this mucilage released by forcefully in this direction, then back this diatom will obviously move in the opposite direction. That is known as mucilage propulsion. That is a mucilage movement. They mainly undergo asexual reproduction, and the common mode of asexual reproduction is binary fission. But in binary fission, we remember that every time there is a synthesis of hypotheca will occur. In every division, hypotheca formation will occur. How? Suppose this is a soapbox arrangement. If this division occur, this is a epitheca, this is a hypotheca. Now secretion occur always inside. So here hypotheca will be synthesized. Now this was earlier, it was a hypotheca. Now synthesis will occur inside, so it will act as a epitheca. This way the binary fission occur in case of diatoms. So due to this, what will happen? Size of the diatoms increase in generation, get decreasing generation to generation. So they reproduce sexually as well as axial, and sexual reproduction varies for isogamy to the oogamy. Isogamy is fusion of a similar kind of gametes. Oogamy, in which a fusion occurs of a smaller male gamete and larger female gamete. And the gametic meiosis occur in diatom. So diplontic life cycle they have. As we have discussed, they have a diplontic life cycle due to presence of gametic meiosis. Now, so these are some of the characteristics. They have silica, siliceous cell wall, soapbox arrangement. They have a photosynthetic nature, mucilage propulsion, flagella present in reproductive stage. Usually it is absent, transparent cell wall, and they are kept as a phytoplankton. These all are the characteristics. But some more characteristics we should understand with respect to their economic importance. Now, when we talk about the silica cells of dead diatoms are nearly indestructible. They have silica cells, but they are indestructible. So what happens? They get accumulate at the seabed, and they form a huge rock. Such huge rocks deposit of hard cells of diatom constitute a diatomaceous earth, which is mined to obtain a whitish powder. So we remember diatomaceous earth is formed due to the accumulation of these diatoms at the bed of the sea, and this will act as a diatomaceous earth or diatomite or Kessel-Gur. Now this is mined, and through mining a whitish powder will be obtained. That whitish powder can also be termed as a diatomaceous earth or Kessel-Gur or diatomite. And this diatomite is rough and gritty. So because of this feature, it is used in several things. And the several things where this Kessel-Gur can be used, that is in case of filtering of brewing industry. Brewing industry means it is alcohol industry. It is also used in case of sugarcane refineries, in polishes, toothpaste formation. You know that in previously there was a concept that silica was used to clean the tooth. Now recently I have heard that there are some toothpaste in which silica is added for the purpose of this. So this is the thing that is also added in toothpaste also, for making insulating bricks, and in insulation in the refrigerator. It is used to prepare houses and for making soundproof houses. In the manufacture of diatomite it is used. Water glass or sodium silicate or strong acids are also found, and this is added to in paint to increase the night visibility. Sometimes might be you have seen that there are some hotels, and in their hotels you can see that there is a shining walls. So these shining walls are due to the addition of this diatomite, which increases the night visibility. So now, we, after studying this much, you should remember this much point, that is, they can be freshwater or marine, float passively in water current, they are photosynthetic, cell wall embedded in silica, diatomaceous earth, used in polishing and filtration, and they are chief producer of ocean, which was the asked in NEET. So these are the NCERT points that you should remember. Next, we talk about the dinoflagellates. In dinoflagellates, they are the golden brown photosynthetic protist. They are a golden brown photosynthetic protist, and this belong to Dinophyceae. Now, habitat, if we talk, they are mainly marine. Now, be remember, in diatom what was there? They can be marine, or they can be freshwater. But in case of this dinoflagellate, they are mainly marine, and few are freshwater forms. If we see general category, they are unicellular. Obviously, they belong to unicellular eukaryotes or protists, so they are unicellular. They are motile. They can be biflagellated. Some non-motile forms are also available. They can be amoeboid or palmoid. Palmoid forms, filamentous form can be there. Now, the body is included in a rigid coat. The coat or wall of this protist dinoflagellate, that is known as theca or lorica. That is known as theca or lorica. And this theca or lorica is made up of sculptured plates of cellulose and pectin. It is made up of a sculptured plate of cellulose and pectin. And due to the presence of sculptured plates of the cellulose and pectin, it gives his army-like structure. Because of this, they are known as armored dinoflagellates. Now, when we talk about the theca or lorica, suppose this is a diatom, and this is the theca or lorica of this diatom. This is made of cellulose and pectin. Now, this theca has generally two grooves, that is a longitudinal called sulcus. Now, in these two grooves, they have two grooves, means they are the depression, and here also they have one depression. So this depression is known as a transverse groove. Okay, and this transverse groove is known as cingulum. This is known as cingulum, and this cingulum can also be called as annulus or girdle, but this is a transverse groove, and this transverse groove can be termed as what? Longitudinal groove, that can be termed as sulcus. So these are the name of that groove. Now, in each groove there is a presence of flagella. They have flagella in each groove, and this, the flagella which is present in sulcus, that is posteriorly present. It is bent, or it is downwardly posteriorly bended. Now, so we talk about flagella. They have two type of flagella in two different grooves. That is show, because of this they have it is known as heterocont flagellation. They have what? Heterocont flagellation. And in these they have a longitudinal flagellum, which we have studied just in case of sulcus. That flagellum is narrow and smooth and directed posteriorly, but in transverse groove they have a flagellum like ribbon-like. Both are oriented right angle to each other, and due to the presence of both at a right angle to each other, they produce a spinning movement. Due to presence of flagella at right angle to each other, they show a spinning movement, and this, due to presence of spinning movement, they are known as whirling whips. Okay, now most of the species have brown, green, yellow chromatophores with chlorophyll A and C. They have chlorophyll A and chlorophyll C, as we have seen in case of the diatoms. They have some of the carotenes, xanthophyll. Plastids are generally embedded with three membrane. Be remember, they have a three membrane plastids. Okay, the reserve food as carbohydrate and oil, as we have seen, a reserve food in case of diatoms is leucosin or chrysolaminarin, but here we have a carbohydrate and oil. Now, nucleus is generally relatively larger inside, and has condensed chromosome even in interphase. Now, interphase is the phase which occur during the cell division, and this interphase consists of three phases, that is G1, S and G2. Now, in this interphase, the chromosomes do not have a histone. They do not have histone. Okay, and nuclear envelope. So usually they have histone in S phase, but in this, when a histone is absent, nuclear envelope and nucleolus remain present even during this division. In absence of this histone, then this type of organism are known as organization is known as mesokaryon. So we remember mesokaryon condition in the absence of histone, a nuclear and when nucleus remain present even during cell division, there is a no loss of nuclear envelope. Then this type of condition is known as mesokaryon, which is found in case of dinoflagellates. Now, when we talk about dinoflagellates, in dinoflagellates there is a one contractile vacuole inside that, and that is present at just the base of the particularly transverse flagellum, and this contractile vacuole is named as puscle. It is named as puscle. So the non-contractile vacuole called a puscle is present near the flagellar base, as you can see, and it may have one or more vesicle and take part in flotation and osmoregulation. It help in what? Flotation and osmoregulation. Now we remember one more important relation here. Here they have a non-contractile vacuole. It is not a contractile. Contractile vacuole is found usually in case of freshwater organism, and non-contractile vacuole is found in case of marine organism. So because of this, we can relate and remember that these dinoflagellates are mostly marine. They have a trichocyst and nidoplast for the defense. Reproduction is commonly asexual and occurs through the cell division. They have sexual reproduction, that is isogamous and anisogamous type, reported in some of the dinoflagellates like Ceratium, and the life cycle is of zygotic meiosis, means haplotic in case of Ceratium and Gymnodinium, and it is gametic meiosis in case of Noctiluca, means diplontic life cycle in case of Noctiluca. Okay, so these are some of the characteristics and structures like Theca, Lorica. Then they have a longitudinal flagellum, and they have a transverse flagellum and transverse and longitudinal groove. They have a non-contractile vacuole. They reproduce asexually and sexually as well. Mesokaryon they have. These are some of the important characteristics of dinoflagellates. Now, if we talk about some of the economic importance or some of their importance, some dinoflagellates show bioluminescence. Some of the characteristics. Bioluminescence means they emit light during night, that is known as bioluminescence, that is shown by the Noctiluca, Pyrodinium and Pyrocystis, and that occur due to the phosphorescence. Now some dinoflagellates like Coniolex catenella, which produce one toxin known as succetoxin into the sea. Now this toxin is highly poisonous to vertebrates and example fishes and other aquatic animals. But marine shellfish consume dinoflagellates, accumulate the poison which is not harmful to shellfish. So what? This succetoxin is harmful to which? Vertebrates and some of the fishes and aquatic animals, but it is not harmful to the shellfish, and shellfish is nothing but a mussel, it is named, and it is a belong to the mollusk. Now this being consumed, then there is no harmful for the mussel, but upon being consumed causing severe in case of the human being. So when human being will eat, that can cause some of the problem, and that problem is known as paralytic poisoning or paralytic shellfish poisoning, and this even prove fatal, so it can cause a death also. Some dinoflagellates proliferate in large number and cause a red tide as well as, so tide are of reddish in coloration, which is found by a Coniolex and Gymnoidium proliferation or overgrowth. Okay, so this is the dinoflagellates. So according to this, these are the diagrams of some of the dinoflagellates, we remember, and these are some of the NCERT points that should remember. Habitat mostly marine, locomotion through flagella, nutrition photosynthetic, cell wall stiff cellulosic plates on the outer surface. They cause a red tide and they produce a toxin which is known as succetoxin, which is responsible for the paralytic shellfish poisoning. Now next we talk about the third photosynthetic protist. First we have talk about chrysophytes, then we have studied dinoflagellates. Now we are going to study euglenoids. Euglenoids are again unicellular. They have flagellate protist found in water and damp soil. Majority of them are freshwater organism. So these are found in stagnant water. Freshwater organism. So if they are freshwater, we can relate that they should have a contractile vacuole. Now body is spindle shaped, okay, but blunt anterior end and the pointed posterior end. Cell wall is absent. One of the important characteristic is this one, and that is of a stagnant water. These two are the important statement which was asked in NEET. So cell wall is absent, but a covering periplast or pellicle is present, which is proteinaceous in structure. Locomotory organ are flagella. Locomotory organ are flagella. So you can see euglenoid structure that appear like this. Okay, so we will study the detailed structure as shown here. This is a structure of euglenoides. Now when see, there is a one blunt end and one tapering end. You can see here this tapering end. So this is a tapering end and this is a blunt end. Now in blunt end you can see a depression. This depression represent what? A reservoir. Reservoir, when it is expand, upper part of the reservoir is represented cytopharynx, which act as a pharynx, and the topmost region is a cytostome. Here this is a cytostome. Okay, so this is the cytostome, then it is followed by cytopharynx, then the reservoir is there. At the base of the reservoir you can see these two dark granules, that is representing a basal granule. From basal granule, one long flagella and one short flagella will arise. This is a long flagella and one short flagella, which is associating with the long flagella. The association where this long flagella and short flagella associate, that is known as paraflagellar body. Then they have some contractile vacuole. They have chloroplast. As you can see here, different type of chloroplast are there. They have pellicle, but cell wall is absent. Cell wall is absent, that you should remember. Okay, now they have a nucleus as well. You can see here they have a nucleus. Then they have paramyelin bodies. These paramyelin bodies are nothing but food storing bodies. They are food storing or food storage bodies. Okay, now parallel to this paraflagellar body you will find a stigma, and this stigma has a one pigment that is known as astaxanthin. Okay, so blunt end, tapering end, cytostome, cytopharynx, reservoir, basal granule, paraflagellar body at the joining, then flagella, long flagella is coming out. Parallel to paraflagellar body, presence of stigma. Then they have a contractile vacuole for osmoregulation. They have chloroplast. They have pellicle. Cell wall is absent. Paramyelin bodies, stored bodies are present. Nucleus is also present. Now, okay, you can see some of the thread-like structure here, which are covering the whole. These are myonemes, and with myonemes they show some contraction and relaxation, and through contraction and relaxation one creeping movement is observed. That creeping movement is known as metaboly. So metaboly is observed by the myonemes. So you can read all this point in this part that we have just discussed. Cell bear a single long tinsel type flagellum. Tinsel means they have some of the fiber like projection over there. So it is known as stichotomitic horizon at the anterior end. There are two flagella, one is reduced, one is a long flagellum, each have their own basic granules. Then the area of union is known as paraflagellar body, that is a photosensitive. Myonemes are the oblique parallel here is septa. Euglenoids perform creeping movement of contraction and reflection to the myonemes and called a euglenoid movement or metaboly. The apical end of the cell bear invagination that have a three parts that we have discussed, that is a cytopharynx and all this. Stigma is put attached to the membrane of the reservoir at the level of paraflagellar body, and this is involved in perceptual stimulus, means it is also photosensitive. Now they contain photosensitive red orange pigment that is known as astaxanthin. That is the important point that you should remember. Then contractile vacuole they have, that we have also discussed, that is involved in osmoregulation. They have single large nucleus. Now the important part with respect to nutrition, they are photoautotropic, capable of getting nourishment from the dead decayed organic matter or substrate as well. Okay, and this in the absence of light. So when light is present they carry out photosynthesis, when light is absent they carry out saprophytic nutrition, and this termed as mixotropic mode of nutrition, which we have discussed. Photosynthetic pigment for photosynthesis are chlorophyll A, chlorophyll B, xanthophyll and beta carotene. Reserve food material is paramylon, as we have discussed. It is made up of beta-1,3-glucane. Under favorable condition, mainly reproduced by longitudinal binary fission. This is an important question. They'll divide by longitudinal binary fission in favorable condition, but in unfavorable condition they form some of the cysts, which are for the perennation. Perennation means to tide over unfavorable condition. Now sexual reproduction is not known to occur in euglenoids. Sexual reproduction is not known to occur in this case of euglenoids. Okay, so these are some of the points with respect to NCERT. In case of euglenoids, mostly freshwater organism found in stagnant water. Instead of cell wall, pellicle is present. Nutrition is mixotropic. Two flagella is there, one large, one small, and they have pigments identical to higher plant. This statement is important for the statement wise question, and this is a diagrammatic picture of euglenoids. Okay.